there. Welcome to Life by Randy's Conversation Corner for you in 44. And what that means is you're going to join us for an amazing conversation with an amazing woman out of Detroit, Michigan, Mary Mazur. Welcome, Mary.
Hi. Welcome, Randy.
So great to see you. We're going to have the best conversation about the power of the mind today, the subconscious, changing beliefs, how we do it, and how you've helped me. So, Mary, welcome to the show, and take it away. Who are you, and how did you come to study and learn the power of the subconscious mind?
Oh, well, thank you, Randy. And thank you to everyone that's going to be listening today, because we are here. We are really here to serve our precious gifts. And and help people at this time, especially the self-healing and the self-mastery, and to really step into who we really are. And we are amazing beings. This is one that I've come to learn, which I didn't even really realize, actually. So my journey with who I am now compared to who I was before, the biggest gift that was given to me was the gift of Psych-K. So we'll be talking about this beautiful tool and gift, Psych-K. So I was living my life, like we all do, the best we can. I was a nurse, a birth center nurse. So I loved helping moms have babies. My mom had 12 kids. So I was all about babies. Yeah. And my husband's mom had 12 kids. So we had 4. We stopped at 4. But yeah,
That's amazing.
God loved them. Yeah, right, exactly. So I was raised with a lot around me, a lot of interaction, a lot of craziness. But I think many of us have our own personal stories. My dad was a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps, so I was really taught to be a Marine. I was taught to be tough. Don't cry. We'll give you something to cry about. Get out there and figure it out yourself. Be independent. And I respect and appreciate that. That I was taught a lot of those. I would call them masculine skills, the tough skills. The problem is I pushed down my feminine skills and gifts. And I believe all of us did, men and women. Both of us have both of these qualities within ourselves, the masculine and the feminine. So I was really primed to be more masculine and get it out there and figure it out, take care of myself, and do the best I can in life, right? So I was doing that. I was working night shift, and then raising a family of 4. And it's amazing how my husband and I could juggle that and just kind of get cat naps when we could and figure out there's always a way, always a way. And I also have a son that was born with Down syndrome. So he's a beautiful gift in our family. And it was a challenge at first, but then I embraced it. And so we were very, very active. I was very active with the disability community and advocacy and people's rights, for being valued and honored for who each one is, not how smart you are or what you do. My son Chris taught us it's the spirit. Each one of us is so valuable and important. So I was that was a very passion of mine. Well, as life was going on, my husband was diagnosed with leukemia. And this was in 2008. And right when the economy was crashing in America, he's an engineer. And at that time, he actually took a buyout and lost his job because of the way the economy was. And he had never not worked since he was a little kid. He's always had very strong work ethic. So obviously things were happening within him about, even knowing who he is or what his responsibilities are. He was dealing with his own internal struggles, I do believe. With that. And then his dad died when he was really young too, which he never really dealt with. He was actually just getting out of high school, I think going into college when that happened. And like life, you got to keep living and keep going. And a lot of us don't deal with grief very well and smother it or put it away or just don't know how to deal with it. Right. And I think that was actually coming in within him too, and his own personal stuff. So when he got sick at the same time, I had a dear friend from high school that also was diagnosed with leukemia 9 years earlier, and he was literally on his deathbed, and he ended up dying 5 months later. And when I saw what John went through, he listened to everything that the medical profession said to do. He didn't listen to any of his own internal intuition or even what his wife was offering. for his own personal journey of self-healing. And I just witnessed it, and he went right with what he did. So I knew we are not going to go down that path. I'm like, we're going to try another path. But the challenge with me is that it's not me, it's my husband, right? So it's his life. And so I also needed to grow and learn to honor him and his choices, because I know I would do a certain thing a certain way, but it's what he needs to do and his choices. So, I am his wife, so I figure, hey, I have a good part and a good role. So,
Right.
Yeah. So at least spiritually and intentionally, I put it out there, basically into the universe. And so God, divine source said, hey, you know what? We're going to find a way here that can help him. And so that was my journey. Within that year, I read Bruce Lipton's book, Biology of Belief, which was huge. It actually was right there at my desk at work, and one of the nurses was reading it. It comes to you. Things come to you right at the right time.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. And so I said, all right, can I borrow that book? So I read it. And sure enough, at the end of that book is where Bruce Lipton talked about the Psych-K. Because Bruce Lipton, I don't know if many know about him, but amazing work. He was a cell biologist. He taught medical students, helped people become doctors. And he was very ingrained with the science and the beliefs of science, of how it was in the 20th century, that germs created things, and that your genes control a lot. Well, and actually Bruce Lipton learned in his book, he explains it, that the cells actually taught him that no, it's not your genes. Very few, maybe 1% to 3% is a gene condition that happens. It's actually our cells respond by the subconscious mind. And so he's the one that's really been a huge promoter of, well, what is this subconscious mind, and what part within us actually controls 95% of everything that we do? We're habit creatures. And so this is what Bruce dived into. And then Bruce can explain the science of how our bodies work, and our body, mind, and spirit, function related to our subconscious mind. But he didn't know how to change them. He didn't know how to change. How do you change subconscious beliefs? He didn't know. He just knows that this is the science. And serendipitously, he ended up meeting Rob Williams, who's the originator of Psych-K, at a conference. Fascinating. Bruce did his talk, and then at the end, people, raised his hand and said, okay, Bruce, great. The subconscious mind controls nearly everything we do in our lives, our behaviors, our actions, our realities. We create our realities by our subconscious beliefs. But how do you change those? What if you want to change your reality, change your health condition, change your relationship? He's like, I don't know. I just know this is the science, right? And that was really amazing, because Rob Williams actually raised his hand and said, well, actually, I'll be doing that next. And so Bruce was like, oh, yeah, I want to see this. Yeah, huck, this ain't going to happen, right? Because he was skeptical. He was ingrained in his belief, and he did. And within that short time, at the time, Rob actually demonstrated what we call a Psych-K balance. It's a way that you actually can change and rewrite and reprogram your subconscious mind literally within minutes. And he actually assisted a lady at that conference with that. And it made such a profound change in her. She was super quiet, couldn't even say her name. And then literally within 5-10 minutes later, she was talking to everybody, sharing, like completely transformed. So Bruce Lipton was shocked by that. Like, what? Can't believe it. Met her a year later, came back to the same conference. And by this time she was talking in Postmaster, and giving conferences and speaking. I mean, her whole life changed with that one balance change. So he's like, all right, there might be something here that Rob Williams and Psych-K is doing. And he did. He went on and learned Psych-K. We call it a Psych-K workshop. It's a 3-day workshop where you actually can learn and transform beliefs within our subconscious mind within yourself. And then you can do it on a daily basis. It's just amazing. It's simple, fast, and effective. So that's what I did. I went and learned it, and helped my husband. Yeah.
Yeah, you initially were learned it to help your husband.
Yeah.
Right? Say there's got to be another way. Now you are an RN, right? And you are a Reiki master as well. And so you're going to be a regular guest on Life by Randy, so we can go into the Reiki at another show, because for this one, the focus is the subconscious mind and Psych-K. Board certified holistic nurse and a Tai Chi practice leader. So you have lots of tools in your toolbox that you help people with. You also, Mary, have a very, very special gifting to be able to, what I call, jump into someone's energy field and to communicate with their higher self, if you will. And it took me a while to figure out what the higher self was. And being raised a Catholic and a Christian, we know that from God's perspective, Source's perspective, right? He looks at us through Jesus and through the love of Jesus and the Christ consciousness, and accepts us in all love. And to me, he what I have learned in the Christian faith is that looking at it that way, you are seen through the eyes of love and your perfected self. And I think for Psych-K and purposes like the subconscious, that higher self is the perfected version of us. That's how I see it. And now for our viewers, Mary has worked with me in some very profound ways, and we'll get to that in a minute, to really shift and change and help save my life from a stage 4 disease diagnosis within a matter of 5 months. And so I'm sharing Mary, the gift of Mary, to all of us individually and to the universe really collectively, and all of your gifts. And so before we go into those specifics, can we delve into what really is the subconscious mind? Why is it so important to get into those programs? Now, I'm a devotee of Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I believe studied under Dr. Bruce Lipton, or studied with him certainly, and has carried on much of the work that Dr. Bruce Lipton actually spearheaded in the medical community and in the way our brains and minds work, with science behind it. Okay, so with that, the subconscious mind, could we say that's kind of like the hard drive that unconsciously rules us, these programs? So no matter what we say to ourselves, we can't will ourselves or even pray ourselves into any other condition if our subconscious, if the hard drive is tugging in the opposite direction. Is that fair to say?
Yes, absolutely.
How could you expand on the subconscious?
Sure. And thank you for that. And then we do want to honor too, because whoever's listening today, we all are listening based on the beliefs that we have in our subconscious mind. Okay. So no matter what we say, if you don't agree with it, or if it may think, I don't know if that's true. Perfect. That's fine. It's okay. The gift is if you allow yourself to be open and curious, and just be open and curious and consider, because if you are, that's where the changes can really happen for us. Okay.
That's great. And thank you for saying that, because not everyone is going to agree with what we say or agree with how I frame things or how you frame things. But it is important to be open-minded, to stay curious, that we might not know everything, and that there might be things on offer that can help us. So thank you for underscoring.
Yeah, absolutely. Because each of us are raised with different faiths and different upbringings. We're so unique. Yeah, exactly. So what I have discovered, I'll at least share what I have discovered about our mind and our heart and how our bodies work. And there are many scientists and spiritual beings that share this. This is where I'm getting, and actually, if I can offer to, I get a lot of my information, actually about all of it now, from my divine connection with God's source. So it's from the Holy Spirit, if people want to call it, right? The Holy Spirit is the source, which is right at higher level than what we even have here. So if people are open to that, to receive. Perfect. Okay.
Right. Yeah, that's excellent. And the one other thing that I've kind of opened myself up to, or had a revelation on this journey that I've been on in a very intense way the last 5-6 months, but certainly the last 20 plus years, and even longer, because I was a psych major for a while and I made it my minor. So I've always had a fascination with this, and drawn to studying ancient philosophies, studying the Bible, studying other ways of thinking and doing and being, because of the curiosity that I have naturally inside of me, right, to learn. And so when we pray, generally, I would pray out like God is out there somewhere. And through this journey that I've just been on, is God is within, and we know that, and we learn that. I think we learn that in lots of different faiths or religions, and certainly in just being open, say, to the universe, source, energy, creator, that is within us, right? And we get to tap into that, and that's where the power comes from.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And then it's people raised in a Christian faith or traditional, let's say in America, you can say we are children of God. So that's one expression that is said in the Bible, which means we are divine expressions of God's source. So I love to say it as we are light and love. We actually are light and love expressions. And then we agree to come here on earth to have an experience. And we agree to learn the first 7 years of our lives, complete downloads of the beliefs that our parents had, our culture had, everything in our environment, that we have a perception of how we received and experienced it. And then our subconscious mind is the part of us that records everything. It's like people have called the Akashic records. It's another way to view that aspect of you. It has everything. It records everything. It's the long-term memory of every experience we've had from the time of our conception. So even our experience growing in our mom's belly, our birth experience, every interaction of every moment of our five sensories that we see, we feel, we hear, we touch, we smell, we taste, and we internalize it exactly like a hard drive, our subconscious mind. The mind is the part of us that literally records that perception and creates the filter for how we're going to respond to life. And we have been integrated with love and light, which is who we are, and also denser energies like fear for survival. So we have both. We have denser energies and higher energies that is in our makeup. And then we get free will choice of how we are going to respond and choose in life at every moment. And we also are habitual beings. So the subconscious mind is the part of us that has us run on autopilot. Most people do live on autopilot. If they're not consciously aware of everything that they're saying and doing and feeling and choosing, we just automatically do stuff. So like, for instance, people will get up and they get the same routine. They do the same routine of getting up. Like for me, I like my coffee in the morning and I connect. I do. And, we have a set pattern. Many people, when they used to drive to work, would drive the same way, same time all the time. And you're driving to work. There'd be many times I would drive, even night shift. I don't even remember the drive. I'm like, I don't know who just took me to work, but I consciously wasn't aware. That's your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind took you to work. Your subconscious mind is the one that is the habit creates the part of us that has us do everything automatically. And it's when it's running well, it's beautiful. Meaning if it's your actual true essence, then we literally can have heaven here on earth. If we're running in a high frequency, everything is energy and everything is frequency. And our beliefs are what help create who we are in a dense energy we are, or a medium or a high energy that we are, based on the beliefs that we have.
Okay. Mary, that is so key. This is, and I learned this studying the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, is the everything is energy and frequency. We are energy and frequency. We emit, we have our own unique electromagnetic signature, right? Yeah. Commonly known as a vibe, really kind of throw off a vibe. And isn't our very DNA, our DNA carries that frequency or vibration. Mm-hmm. And so if you study the works of Nikola Tesla, say, right, everything is energy and frequency. Yes. And so now that is huge. And so that goes to the power of intention, the power of the mind. So whether you call it prayer, whether you call it intention, your thoughts actually produce results, right? There's a cascade of chemicals in your brain, right? When you have a thought. So if I'm sitting on the couch, right, all cozy and safe, but then, and this has happened, I rehearse a bad car crash I was in. I saw something. Well, my body floods with adrenaline. My heart starts pounding, as if the car crash just happened. So by my very thoughts, I've triggered the cascade of chemicals. And now I'm in a state of fight or flight when it's not happening, but the brain doesn't know if it's real or not. Right? The brain doesn't know if it's happening in the now, is another way to say it.
Exactly. Whether it's the power of the imagination or you're really living it. The subconscious mind doesn't know the difference of that.
And the power of imagination, I have come to learn, is our superpower.
Yeah.
And imagination, as we age, is absolutely stamped out of us. Right? Living on this, what can be a somewhat brutal plane of existence here. Lots of survival, right? Lots of survival fears from either paying bills or just, fear of disease. We just went through, right, a year plus of lots of fear and residues of fear right now of what has happened to us globally. I won't even mention the words. We've all been living through it. And so can we speak to the power of the thoughts, the power of words and intentions to actually either change us or keep us stuck looping with the neural network connectors in our brains, not able to release and form new pathways to actually create a new reality for ourselves?
Sure, absolutely. Well, and the biggest gift we can do for ourselves is to begin to pay attention to what we are saying and the actions that we are doing, because what we're saying, the thoughts that we have. So listening to internally, what are you saying to yourself? What's coming up for you? And that is actually a reflection of what your beliefs are in your subconscious mind. So, many of us do have the critical judge within us, or the one that's the worrier or the doubter, right? Or the one that's afraid. And, it's going to do what it can to survive. That's the key, is to recognize what it is. And then the gift will be, we call it the law of polarity, where you need to change that. How do you want things to be in your new way? How do you rather things be? And the subconscious mind works in the present moment. So you speak it in the present moment time, so that you can have it in your new way. So like Bruce Lipton talks about ways to change beliefs in your subconscious mind. He talks about 3 different ones. We can consciously live and change things, and that's having to live consciously, which is beautiful to live consciously. It can take a lot of energy and focus because we tend to slip back into our habits. But the more we can be aware of it, and then speak what you do want instead of what you don't want. Most people speak of what they don't want because that's what's getting their most attention. So if their health is going bad, or their relationships are going bad, or their finances, or feeling the stuff that's happening outside of themselves, and keep stuck in those things that they don't like, they're going to actually perpetuate that, because the way the subconscious mind works, whatever you do, put your attention and focus in, that is what you create more of. So the more we're able to recognize it and be able to shift that into how you do want things to be, and then focus on what you do want, is the gateway to do that. It's with Psych-K is just a very powerful tool that you actually get to the source, get to the core belief of what you believe that your subconscious mind wrote in your makeup, in your beingness, your first 7 years of life, and then change those so that your thoughts can become positive, your actions can become positive, and living in a new way of love instead of fear, or expansiveness instead of contractiveness. So instead of just surviving, it's like, for me, a big one was knowing that I'm safe. I did not feel safe most of my life. I was born in 1968 during the civil rights crisis in Washington, D.C. My dad was working at the Pentagon at the time, and they were burning down streets all around me. So as I'm growing in my mom's belly and born as a little baby, it was very dangerous. The perception of the world at that time was in a crisis, a good crisis, because people were standing up for their rights, which was beautiful. But as a little baby, I didn't understand that. I thought this place was crazy, and I had to be alerted. So I actually was armored literally to be a Marine, to ready to fight, ready to run, ready to be an advocate, ready to stand up for what I believed in, things like that. So the good part, it can serve well. The bad part, or the harsh part, is what it can do to your body. Because over time, my body the subconscious mind runs every aspect of your body. It does all of it. So we don't have to consciously do it. How nice. It digests our food. It helps assist with our breathing, our heart running, our immune system, everything. And so how beautiful that we don't have to consciously say, okay, digestion, do this. Okay, lungs, do this. The subconscious does all of it, but it's based on our beliefs. So if you don't feel safe, like I didn't feel safe, then my body system was more guarded. So I was tense more. What were the results of that? I ended up with TMJ. I was grinding my teeth all the time. I had psoriasis. Even my scalp was creating too much secretions and having clusters all over, right? The carpal tunnel. So I was, tense, very close veins. I felt overwhelmed because of the stress and things like that. And even wearing glasses, my system didn't want to see the stuff that I was seeing. That was harsh. And my hearing went in my right ear. Also shut down what I didn't like hearing. The body will do these things. Fascinating. With the gift of Psych-K, using the tools that we use with this, it's just a mechanism. It's a system to actually access what we do want, put in a new program within our subconscious mind, and now the subconscious can run that program. So I am safe now, right? I am worthy. Worthy was a big one for me too. I was sexually abused as a young girl, and that was my experience of humiliation and worthlessness, and so that was the contrast. Now I'm stepping into that I am worthy. I changed those beliefs about that. And now people treat me in new ways that are very more respectful ways than they did before. Really precious. So this is what we get to do when you get to change those beliefs. And then the subconscious mind, it doesn't judge anything. It's whatever you program it to do, it will do. The gift is we are spiritual beings. So with Psych-K, it's a spiritual process. So we always get permission. The one who's doing the change within themselves, they get permission with their higher self. That's the part of them directly connected with God's force to make sure it's safe and appropriate for their life path. And because every choice you make does affect things. Make sure it's safe and appropriate. So as long as you make the change that is always safe and appropriate for you, and what you do for yourself is good for all, it's precious. And your life will change. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us and on a personal level. So I take it that you have been healed from all of those issues through the process of Psych-K.
Yes. Yeah. So I was like, I wake up and my jaw feels so good. I don't have and no more. 3 Psych-K balances, 3 changes I made within myself, and all the psoriasis completely gone. My varicose vein, I had surgery on my one leg before I knew Psych-K with my varicose veins, and the other one, let's use Psych-K, which means all it means by let's use Psych-K means let me step into my wisdom, connect with my wisdom, and find out how I'm ready to live and be, instead of having my veins having to bulge and be overwhelmed and handle too much. How do I want things to be instead? And I'm like, no, I receive all the help that I ever need. I relax and things come in a flow instead of being overloaded. So these are the things that I found within myself that I needed to believe within myself so that I can actually have this in my reality. And my right leg, the veins all just went, I was absolutely amazed. And I'm just curious and open with it. And we always are still working with things like my hearing, the tinnitus all went away. And I can actually, I can hear people better. It's about 80% better. So there's still a little bit left. So there's something within me that I'm maybe not ready to hear yet. Kind of funny how we're still on our journey.
Right.
It's way better. And I do still have, obviously we're on the journey here. I have more work to do within myself to be willing to really open up. I'm a little stubborn, so it's probably my stubbornness. To be able to really hear and really, respond to what I hear, to have myself hear fully. Funny.
And so that leads me to the next crucial key point is that there are energetic causes to dis-ease. Okay, dis-ease, not living in a state of ease. And so for all those listening to us on this conversation, I was diagnosed at the end of November 2020 with stage 4 breast cancer that had spread to my bones. and I was very sick. And I have been blessed to work with some of the greatest, I call them energy workers, energy healers. And one dear friend of mine is a Reiki master, and I called her up, of course, texted her right away, and she offered me Psych-K and Mary Mazur. She's Casimira. Cassie said, "You've got to call Mary." Text her. Mary was so gracious. "Mary, you were so gracious," and texted me right back. And we did a session immediately because I knew that I was going to not have positive experiences, let's just call it, with this disease. The world famous Cleveland Clinic, of which I'm about 5 minutes, 10 minutes from, in the main campus, some of the best doctors in the world, and I had one of them. The recommended course of treatment was palliative care only, and which tells me that there's no cure, and that if I wasn't going to turn this around with energy, meditation, prayer, it probably wasn't going to happen. And I knew that if I could get to the right people to help me, assist me along the way, I could turn this around. And so, Mary, you and I had our first session at the end of November, and it was so profound. We've since had 5 sessions, I believe. And each time are more layers that reveal towards healing, but ended in April, 5 months later, a PET scan, cancer free. No longer any cancer, no longer the breast tumor. I didn't have any radiation. I only had prescriptions and some supplements, along with some kind of estrogen inhibitors. And within 5 months, the stage 4 cancer all over my bones and the breast tumor completely gone, because we addressed root causes of those specific diseases and turned that around. Mary, how do you explain that?
Well, I explain it because you are a self-healer. So I didn't do anything. My role is to hold the space. So that with the Psych-K facilitators, our role is to hold the sumatak space, which means that we hold the space for you to be able to access the wisdom within you and to find what you're ready for to expand within you. So we hold this unconditional love space. So we are the keepers of the sacred space for which wisdom is revealed, and it's your wisdom. You were ready. And what's really important is that you were ready to actually access the wisdom and the truth within yourself, and to decide and choose how you want things to be. You chose to want to live again fully. You chose to want to open yourself up to love instead of being closed off to it. Because with cancer cells, it just closes off. So it's not able to release the toxins, and it burns sugar instead of using oxygen, right? Which is how we are designed to be open to the oxygen and love. So you were able to find out, and it was individual for yourself, of what was important for you to believe within yourself, and that you were ready to and choose to. So Psych-K is just a gateway. It's an offering for us to change things. Instead of what we are experiencing, how do you want to be in your new way, to rise up higher in your level of consciousness, your connection within yourself? Step into that, and then take action steps like you did. And we can talk about the action steps, because it's being in your new way and then go live in that new way. And it's unique for everyone, because we all have our own choices. There are other people, that may use Psych-K and they still transition and die, but they help themselves on a spiritual level. And it was where their spiritual growth was. And then part of them wanted to go still. They did not want to stay. So we have to honor everyone where they are. If at their level, they're ready to go and get out of here, that, we honor and love them. So this is all personal to each person's journey. You wanted to fully come and live and fully, right? So you're doing it. Yes. So you did this, and yes, and it's all your power. And we just help ignite that power within you and help you remember that, yes, you are powerful, and step into it.
And it was in joy, right? And so
yes.
Joy is an elevated emotion. And so we have this scale of, is it megahertz or the hertz scale of emotion?
Yes.
So grief has a very low frequency,
Yeah.
all the way up to love, joy, bliss.
Mm-hmm.
And I had determined to live in joy. That's what I wanted. I believe that my cork always wanted to rise to the top anyway, all my life. It's just, I want to be buoyant. But these subconscious programs were always weighing me down. And I was drawing to myself circumstances and situations that were confusing because I'm thinking, I'm a happy person. I don't understand these. This is my second round with cancer. I had cancer in my early 90s as well, a different kind of cancer. And I thought I've got to tap into my subconscious programming because that is at odds with where I want to be. And Psych-K for me bridged that gap and I worked with it. But through the Dr. Joe Dispenza work that I've done, one has to live in an elevated emotion as if the event has already happened in order to be a match for it, to draw it in from the quantum field of possibilities for us. How does Psych-K match that? Because we are all energetic vibrational beings, right? Okay. We pull that which we're a match to at the time.
Exactly. So like we talked about earlier that everything is energy. So everything is energy and energy frequency. So there's a philosophy or belief that we plan our lives before we even come. If people are open to even that you have, for each of us, we have very unique areas that we want to grow in our self-mastery. And so we may be willing to have these experiences, with the parents that we have and the culture and what society we live in. All those pieces are important for us to have that self-mastery. In that, all of us agree to live in the 20th century, which is one of the darkest times in the planet, at least in this civilization. So we all embodied beliefs of scarcity, of fear, of guilt and shame, that we don't think we're good enough or worth enough, we're sinners. We embodied all kinds of aspects that we think were true of us. Those carry dense energy. If we run on a lot of worry and fear, sadness, losing stuff, we have experiences when we lose someone, we get so sad because we think we are separate from them. We forget to remember that we're always connected. We're always together. Nothing can separate us. But then we have these experiences. No, like someone died and I feel horrible. I don't want anyone to die. We all die here. Can we just say that? Not as a physical being.
Right.
And we don't ever die. We are eternal beings. Our light never dies. We are eternal. We always do that. But we agree to have these experiences of this stuff. So they all hold energy, and each of us are unique with whatever energy frequencies we want. And we know that. We have friends that, we have ones that can handle a whole bunch, others that don't. They're super sensitive and they don't handle things very well. We have every personality and every fabric. The gift with Psych-K is that when people have the willingness and courage to make the change within themselves, that's when they find Psych-K. It's all about the willingness and courage. For many, it is huge things, like with you, it was a health issue, or for me, my husband's health issue. Someone I love had it, I wanted to help. For others, they just know they're blocked. They're just blocked. Like, they've kind of done as best they can in life, but they still can't plow through to how they really want their life to be. Perfect. There's some resistance preventing that. And what it is there's just that density holding it. You remove that density, you remove that resistance, you change that belief, and they can rise up into their new way. So Psych-K is actually a gateway to raise your level of consciousness, raise your energy field into higher energies of who we actually really are, and we agree to forget. We agree to have the veil. So it's just, I know we are living in a beautiful movie, a saga. Some of us have really great movies going on, right? Because then
some play really great roles, some not so great.
Yes, and right, exactly. And some are really hard, and some people still are in suffering. There's a lot of people still suffering, and in that suffering, they still are growing and expanding. And we honor. So I'm learning to honor and accept each one for every choice they make and every experience they have. right? Because I'm able to view people as eternal beings here, not just in their human experience for this one incarnation. And it's helped me a lot. I still am very deeply connected, right, with the people I love. And I still will be sad when they do go. Sadness is an important piece. It's an expression of our love. But I'm not going to stay in sadness. I'll experience it. We'll be there. And then I honor and love and be full of who we really are, which is that love and light and bliss.
Right, right. And speaking of the bliss, I had so much joy, well, I still do, but walking through this very challenging time where I didn't know that cancer in the bones is very painful. How would I know? Never had it before. Very, very painful. Pathologically broken ribs, very difficult time, but my spirit was constantly in joy. And I was always offering up, and still do, prayers of gratitude, intentions of gratitude, happiness, and intending on a clean PET scan and what that would feel like to get that news. And I got the news, but I wasn't surprised because somehow I knew it. So that's that seat of intuition that we know. How is that the higher self knowing? Is that how do those things that we just know? That's such a
yeah. Thank you. Absolutely. Yes. It's your true essence. It's your true essence of, right. We actually have access to all knowing for the level of where we are, for what we're meant to experience and do. Exactly. And we call it intuition or your gut instinct. You just have a sense about something. We all have these gifts. It's just, some of us don't believe it yet, have conflicting beliefs at the subconscious level that are block that ability or gift to be able to be expressed. So, yeah.
Our environment also, and that which we've consumed even in our water supply, or has really blocked our intuition and our sacred pineal gland, our connection. So that is something that I personally see a mass awakening of happening, and us as a collective rising up into a higher dimension where this kind of information now is being more readily shared and, more importantly, readily digestible to the masses. That's what I'm seeing. And so that's why I'm so excited, Mary, to partner with you as a guest on Life by Randy. And for the part 2 of Mary Mazur, we'll dive into more of what Psych-K is, what it looks like to go through it, the meridians, the 12 meridians and the 12 belief points.
Yeah, or 13 belief points. Yeah,
13 belief points.
Yeah.
And what exactly happens on that level to bring change and to bring it rapidly. Right, Mary, I would say, okay, so how do I know that, is this going to stick, right? I was in fear of, oh my gosh, I feel so great. I want this to stick. I don't want to lapse back. And once you settle it in your subconscious, it takes, right? It's cemented in, and then your subconscious takes off from that new level. It's really miraculous, very fascinating.
Yeah, and you take the action step. So that's the key of you did simple things in your life to show that this is true for you now. So that activates what the changes you made within you. So yeah, exactly. Begin to live in your new way. That's the responsibility piece, to live in your new way.
So for me, it was living in joy in spite of my present circumstance of the cancer throughout my body. Is that what the action step was for me?
Yes.
How do you describe it? Okay.
You did. And then you'll be talking about your heart too. But yes, absolutely. And then it was really great because you let yourself know we actually can live in a paradox way, where even though you're feeling pain and your body's going through a lot of changes, with what it was expressing, that you can still choose to be in the level of frequency you chose, which was joy. And how precious that we can actually do that. And you cleared those resistances that were blocking you from being able to do that. Transmuted any fears and worries, related to your present circumstance.
Right.
And then you focus in how you wanted to be in your new way. Like I call it, you pulled in your optimal timeline, because we actually have every optimal timeline ready there for us. Yes, we do have the highest of the highs. And when you can know that, well, yes, this is what I would love, how I'd love to experience. And oh, I want this one too. And this, yeah. And so it's good for you and all. So this isn't an individual self decision of only for your own self survival. That's how we used to be. Every choice we make now is good for you. When it's good for you, it's good for all. And this is our unity consciousness we're rising into now.
The unity consciousness, which I love. And it's all from our hearts, right? Living from our hearts. Yeah. And so I wore purposely a gift that my husband bought me a couple of years ago, the beautiful heart necklace. And we'll finish this segment with this beautiful heart. Another friend of mine who is going to be on our show as well. She's a functional medicine practitioner, and she bought me this heart, and my husband bought me the butterfly brooch, so that when the cancer transmuted, flew away, I could pin it to this beautiful heart. And Mary, you encouraged me to do you talk about paradoxical, send love to my cancer cells, which I called my C cells. And so I used this pillow as a reminder that I was going to love them, because they showed up as a messenger for my great awakening, for my good, not so that I would leave this earth plane now, but to actually awaken me. And so I actually fell in love with my C cells and didn't go after them with a vengeance to get them out. And so on another show, we'll explore exactly what that looked like, because it's very counterintuitive, and it worked. I loved them away with the help of, in full disclosure, prescription meds, right? And some strong immune boosting supplements. But the prognosis at stage 4 is something that I was going to have to live with forever. And now I just live with the joy of the gift that they left me.
Oh, I love it. So beautiful.
And thanks to you, Mary, truly.
And I'm honored to work with you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Final parting words for this episode, Mary.
To open up to the love that you are, each one that's listening here today. You are made out of pure, complete, unconditional love, and you're unique like nobody else here. So honor that, step into that, and know you're a warrior. Each one of us are spiritual warriors to live during these times.
Yes.
And that you get to choose with your free will choice. How do you want your life to be? And then begin to move towards that and bring that into your reality. And we honor each and every one.
Yes.
And we would love, if they want to learn Psych-K, we'll offer about that, if they can come learn it at a workshop or do private sessions like you did. Both are beautiful to do.
Right. And so those links will be below. And for all those that want to connect with Mary and her website, igniteandhealyourlife.com, and the information will be there. And thank you so much for being my amazing special guest today, and for sharing your gifts, not only with me, but the world.
Oh, thank you, Randy. and great love.
Thanks, Mary. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.